ponies staring at you, judging you, jealously noting how they could be way better than you. Why wasn't it them? Why wasn't it them? And then, when you choke, they'll turn on you, becoming a super angry mob, and then
My God! Amy, what did you do to Pinkie Pie? I'll go as far as to mention that when I was a kid, I had an admiration for singing. My parents complimented my singing voice as well as my teachers when I was in grade school, but I was not very comfortable talking about it. What pours salt in the open wound here is that I built a microphone out of Legos and sang an entire album of Katie Lang when I was 4 years old. I was an idiot back then. The more I talk about it, the more embarrassed I feel. The point I bring up here is that when it comes to stage fright, I can relate to that issue, especially on Fluttershy's behalf for the episode Filli Vanilli. It's a joyful episode, a fun song is added, and a conflict that is believable to see. Then there's that one issue that I'm going to have to save for later. Filli Vanilli is once again a Fluttershy episode about dealing with one's fears. It begins with a friend discovering her talent of singing. Given how impressed they are with her voice, Rarity highly recommends her to join a quartet, but since she has stage fright, Fluttershy refuses to participate. That isn't until Big Mac loses his singing voice over a competition, and thus he cannot perform.
lost his voice and the title!
However, Fluttershy gets the idea to lower the pitch of her voice by having Sakura use the poison joke as she sings backstage for Big Mac to synchronize with. Yeah, I can hear Voice of Reason screaming profanity right about now.
Why? Why would you reference worst episode? Do you realize you made the poison joke make even less sense in canon?
The quartet succeeds in a wide amount of performances, and thanks to this, Fluttershy continues to volunteer with the more performances, until she eventually gets too carried away. At her last performance, she's caught by the crowd after getting too far and knocking off the curtains and completely exposing herself. At first I thought the episode tried to put Hurricane Fluttershy to shame by borrowing a lot of its elements, but thinking a little more carefully, there's been multiple episodes about her fears of stage fright in the past. A few exceptions within other reasons, nonetheless the concept worked. Having the ability to sing and facing stage fright was well presented. Not to mention when she was caught by the crowd, we saw one of her surrealistic visuals that presented her freakouts. Just like in Hurricane Fluttershy when she was overwhelmed by her fears of her childhood. It's definitely a good emphasis. The episode itself feels very gentle and sweet towards the scenes with the quartet. The song they perform is catchy and it definitely has something worth jamming to every time you hear it. Though it's a little too generic, but it helps with the main story. In addition, we get a scene with two Pegasi on one in their performance.
That was fantastic, Ponytones!
My new puppy and I thought it was super duper crazy good.
Why, thank you.
And we were wondering if you would consider performing at my daughter Zipperwill's quinceañera.
Will you? Will you?
I don't know if I'm the only one here, but that was adorable. I actually want to see more of these two. So with much of this going, there's that one major issue I have to get back to. Pinkie Pie.
I mean, the curtain came up, and there you were, singing in front of every pony. And you know, I don't think any pony was jealous, because there certainly wasn't an angry mob, but it must have been horrible standing there on stage, all eyes glued directly on you. It's like you were living your own personal worst nightmare!
Okay, Amy, you had Pinkie Pie make Fluttershy cry once, but a second time is unforgivable. Did you forget Griffin the Brush-Off when Pinkie Pie knew the sensitivities of Fluttershy to begin with in Season 1? Apparently this was a large cry in the fandom, and I clearly don't blame them. Pinkie Pie, as a character who you always look up to optimistically, is a complete asshole. Believe it or not, Amy Keating Rogers defended her arguments as she posted on Twitter that Pinkie Pie will speak without thinking. Here's my response. Amy, you're right. She will speak without thinking, as naturally a lot of us will speak without thinking. Yes, she's animated. Yes, she's zany. And yes, she's naive. But she's not that oblivious. She's not an idiot, and most certainly she's not an asshole. In your other episode, Pinkie Pride, she knew when to stop when realizing Dash wasn't having a good time when she was crushed by the piñata. In a further example, you tweeted that she embarrassed Cranky when shouting out how bald he was. That was because she was trying to reason with the folks when she needed a wig to replace the other wig she wrecked by accident. Pinkie wasn't trying to humiliate him, she was trying to help him. And the episode made it perfectly clear of what she was trying to do. And in the end, she was apologetic about it and was self-aware, regardless of the repercussions it backfires. Here, not only does she rudely and demonically make Fluttershy uncomfortable, not only did she become completely unaware of when to stop, not only did she not even bother to apologize for her behavior, these scenes were pointless! You could have taken her out and nothing would have changed the episode's narrative if not for the better. Now I know what some of you are thinking. What about in Luna Eclipse when she portrayed Luna as a problem? What about her actions in Bridal Gossip? And of course, what about her non-stop rambling in the last roundup towards Applejack? Starting with Luna Eclipse, she was so focused on enjoying her holiday that she was unaware of Luna's feelings, and that happens to a lot of us a lot more often, believe it or not. All of that was the result of a misunderstanding, and as a benefit, it turned out that kids were having fun being scared. Furthermore, when she came face to face with Luna in the alleyway, she was going to accept Luna's friendship before it was interrupted by Dash's prank. Pinkie wasn't trying to be a dick to her, she was trying to have a good time. Again, she's not trying to be an asshole. And this was beneficial to Luna's conflict in the end. In the last roundup, yes, she was rambling in front of Applejack on purpose, but that was to get her to talk and explain why she refused to return to Ponyville. Even more so, Pinkie was willing to listen and be aware of how upset she was when Applejack's Pinkie promise was broken. In Bridal Gossip, everyone was a dick, but Pinkie did nothing in that regard except come up with a song and become a victim of the poison joke. She was hardly a dick in the first place, and that was hardly because she was challenged by her fears. And the sooner I don't talk about Super Speedy, the better. It's not really me pointing out that she's out of character. On a technicality, she is in character. But the real issue is placing her in the wrong position, Amy. I know you can write better than that. I don't care if this was meant to be humorous or portray in a dark light. This was bad writing. It served no purpose, and it hurt the episode so bad because of how unpleasant the scenes were. Pinkie is a character to look up to, not to be looked down upon. She is formerly known to make others smile and share optimism, and this episode completely contradicted that. Yes, she's flawed, but other episodes have demonstrated that better. I would even go as far as to say that I loved a friend indeed because of pointing out her flaws, despite how everybody else felt. Even after Pinkie Pride, when you finally fixed her, Pinkie in this episode was by far her worst portray in this episode of this season, if not the entire series. And when I find her behavior worse than the way she acted in Super Speedy, that hurts! And it's not so much as my intention to place her on the pedestal. I expect the entire main six to be likable. Pulling 180s does not help anything. It pisses me off. Making Spitfire despicable and Rainbow Falls does not work. Making Rarity a fucking idiot in simple ways does not work. Same thing here. It doesn't enhance or give depth to the characters, it just pisses me off. Now, with that out of my system, the rest of the episode was great to watch. The concept was still refreshing to say the least, the music was fun, and Fluttershy was relatable on behalf of her conflict with the crowd as established before. In the end, she faced her stage fright only in front of the main six and her critters, and only go as far as to take baby steps along the way. Comparatively, this benefits her previous episodes that had that same formula. Yes, she's still timid and shy, and that'll never change. She's nonetheless still developing, and that shows when we saw her freaking out over her own shadow in Season 1, and then facing the Dark Lord of Chaos in a much later episode. If you can put aside Pinkie's notorious antics, you'll be in it for a good episode. Otherwise, prepare to have your wounds torn open. Until next time, I'm Golden Fox, and I need a glass of water.
Did some pony say a glass of water?
Shut up, Discord!